This meeting is being live streamed. I got it.
All right. So yeah, this is
Hey, are we officially live now?
we are
That's always the
officially
first.
live now. So yeah, this is Brandon and Matt from Wet Ink Games, just hanging out. We're gonna do kind of a GenCon debrief because last week that's where both he and I were, and yeah, we're also gonna be following the tail end of our Into the Sesson Citadel crowdfunding from GameFound on GameFound. So yeah, just
I have my It's the Weird and Wild book right here.
heck yeah, Into the Weird and Wild.
Into the Sesson Citadel. It's the follow-up. In case you tune into the live stream and want to know what this is in the next 24 minutes that you can get a hold of this book. That's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Into the Weird and Wild, Into the Sesson Citadel. These are the first two books of a trilogy done in partnership with Wet Ink Games and Feral Indie Studios. Feral Indie Studio being Charles Ferguson, Avery, and Alex Cogan. They were with us at Origins, so if any of you actually visited us at Origins, more than likely you met them. Yeah, they're fantastic people, incredibly creative, and just from the get-go, they are just
and
awesome.
Prolific.
Oh geez, I mean, with the zines and the just the art sets that they put out for people to get so that they can use in their own projects and their own zine and creative projects. They're just fantastic. So yeah, I'm gonna actually, while I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna put kind of put the word out that we're out here hanging out just across a couple social channels. Hey Matt, while we're at it, yeah, so I know that
I put it out on Discord already. What's the you want me to vamp? What do you want me to
I was
about?
going to get her to ask, I know you were with the IGDN as the Indie Game Developers Network convention coordinator. Yeah, so talk a little bit about that and kind of what that role kind of entails for you and your convention experience.
Yeah. So the role is, as convention coordinator, it's basically everything that happens at a convention that the IGDN does kind of comes through my inbox as the convention coordinator. I'm on leadership team, and obviously we have meetings and we plan stuff together. So, I definitely have help, but a lot of it, and certainly for a big event like GenCon, I had a ton of volunteers step up and help me to run the game room and to work in the booth, making the sales, set up, take down, driving the truck, because we got a storage unit, and then you got to unload the storage unit into the truck and then drive the truck to the convention center and then unload the truck onto the floor, set up the booth. Like, we had plenty of help for all that. But somebody at the beginning of the process is answering questions from GenCon about how many people are coming and who's coming and what emails and what games are being played in the games room. And I have to collect all that from the members and give that to GenCon. And then GenCon tells me, like, okay, so here's the booth you're going to be at, and here's when you have to show up, and here's the address of the marshalling yard. And then I have to communicate that to the volunteers. And I do that for every con that we go to as the IGDN. Currently 2-year terms. So this is my second year. I'm about to rotate off in another, whatever it is, 5 months or so. I'll be done with my term. So it's been a lot of work, but it's pretty cool to uh, be the one who gets all the secret information first, I guess. I know what's going to be there. And um, yeah, I got two, I'll tell you some about that in a second. I got two heroes of the con to shout out. One of them is Brendan Taylor, who stepped up and basically ran the games room. So all of the IGDN events, including Wet Ink Games's Never Going Home, Heck and Good Doggos, Tenebria got run. All of those games were in the IGDN games room, and Brendan Taylor of Galileo Games basically he took it over, and he's like, yep, I'm just going to be here all the time, make sure all the tickets get taken so that they go back to GenCon, so that GenCon gets paid for the tickets. And it was, somebody has to do that. And so I had some volunteers, but Brendan really stepped up and took over a lion's share of monitoring that games room and making sure that process of collecting the tickets and getting people checked into their games happened. So I want to shout out him. And awesome. Closer to home for the Wet Ink Games channel, Corey Capps, who wrote in The Grim Harvest, he wrote in Heck and Good Doggos, or he's writing one of the adventures for Heck and Good Doggos. He wrote in Tears in the Sea. He wrote an adventure in I think his adventure, I forget which two books his are in, but he wrote for Never Going Home. One of his adventures is in the Once More Into the Breach. Anyway, he was my hero.
And he's in the Never Going Home core book.
That's right. The Nightmaster one. That's the lamps are going out. That is in the core book, right? So he's a name that you should know if you're a fan of Wet Ink Games. And he was my right-hand man. He was my ride to GenCon. He was my roommate at GenCon. He's the one who drove the truck on both setup day and takedown day. He sat in the marshalling yard, so I didn't have to. So like, he just took his little water and snacks and the games he bought, and he sat in the parking lot until they told him, okay, now it's your time to go over to load. And that took a long time, hours and hours and hours. And I'm glad someone else did it this year, because I did it last year and it's no fun.
It is no fun, right?
No fun. You did it this year for Wet Ink Games, right, Brandon? You were there.
I did it for
How many hours were you there?
I was only there for a couple hours, but it was not a huge problem for us, mostly because I didn't need to use a loading dock, which was great.
Yeah.
Plus, we had some booth staff that already tore down our booth and had everything loaded up and ready to go. Plus, we are we've done a lot over the past year to make our setup and tear down easier, with how we transport things and making sure that we can minimize what we need to bring in and take back. So
yeah, I mean, setup and takedown was fine for my booth too. It was just the waiting,
the waiting is
never
great. It's never great.
Corey got there about 3:30, and his little ticket to release said 7:50. So He was there for a good long while. So my hero, two heroes of the con for me. And I don't know if we should talk about we should talk about Into the Cess and Citadel a little bit, but I have two things that I want to shout out. I actually have, I don't have a copy of it here, but Wayfaring Strange was kind of my hit of the con, and that's what I mean by the secrets. Like, I knew it was going to be there, and it's a new game from Joey Martin, Drowning Moon Studios. It is a game I was contemplating making. Basically, I'm like, oh, this is like creepy North American truck back roads, magic rituals at the crossroads, and Joey has already done it all. So like, they have a game, Wayfaring Strange. It's on itch.io. And they had a few preview copies at GenCon. So like, I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to be there. And so I got to buy it first day, and it's great. And on the last day, the IGDN winner of the year for Game of the Year is this game, Brave Zenith. And this is like one of the first copies that's reached American shores, because the writers are the writer is Brazilian, the writing team is Brazilian, and the publisher is UK. So this is apparently one of the first copies to be given out, and they brought it to the IGDN booth, and I was like, I'm going to take it and read it. And so here I am reading it. It's a pretty fun little game. Also on the internet, I think it's also on itch.io. You can find it there digitally, but printed copies are also available and will be at our booth in the future. The IGDN.
It's a very fun little art style too. I like that.
Oh yeah, it's real cutesy, and the book is real colorful, and I was telling my wife I might try and cosplay as this hero next year.
Oh, nice.
Maybe. I don't know. It's a wild hair. We'll see.
So
Anyway.
yeah, from I guess my surprise of the con. First, I do like Legend of the Five Rings, and I like 5e, and I know that they had a book that was put out through a partnership, and I know that if you really want to go into a deep dive about some of the things with Legend of the Five Rings, you can really Daniel Kwan from Asians Represent did I think it was a 6 or 7 part series on a deep dive into Legend of the Five Rings, and you should really take a listen to that. However, there was a 5e book that came out, which I didn't even know was going to be there. I got that. But there was a gentleman who came by. The highlight of the con for me was a gentleman who came by with it looked like a children's book that he wrote and illustrated himself, which really started because he was doing some family genealogy research, and then he went to Norway to find the town where his great-great-great-grandfather was, and his great-great-great-grandfather was a fiddle player, and he wrote this like epic poem for his family, and he was telling me about it, and he had a copy of it, and I stopped in mid-sentence and was like, hold on, everything that you were saying is fascinating to me, and I would like, how many of those do you have?
I would like to subscribe to your magazine.
Well, I was like, if that's like the only one that you have, and you're like, hey, I'm going to take this home to my dad, like, or whatever, like, fine, keep it, but I would like to buy this from you. And he was like, what? And I was like, I want to buy that book you are holding right now. Can I give you money so I can take this home? And he was like,
shut up and take
sure.
my money.
Right. Shut up and take my money. Exactly. It was fantastic. So we are, that was like the highlight of my con. Also, I'd like to say Wet Ink Games had a great convention in and of itself, but Zhongshe Blood in the Banquet Hall, a game that we co-produced with Game and a Curry, won a silver Ennie for best setting, due to the hard work and effort of Senfung Lim and Banana Chan, and they're the team that was assembled to do a lot of the writing and collaboration, and it's just one of those products which is fantastic, and it was nominated for 3, won 1, and I
dig it.
I love that.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going to spend so much time talking about GenCon. I would have brought my medal. We got our medals. I
have one right here.
There you go. Silver Ennie Award.
Silver Ennie Award. And the good thing about the Ennies is, the window in which they are nominations happen, we are able to nominate many of the products that we've put out this year, like Heckin' Good Doggos, but also Into the Sesson Citadel as a new product, because you can't nominate reprints. So Into the Weird and Wild couldn't be nominated. We will be nominating, or submitting at least. We'll be submitting
Sure.
Into the Sesson Citadel.
Charlie's art has been nominated before, so like it could be nominated again.
Yup. This is and I know that we've talked about that before when he was nominated for best art in 2020 for Never Going Home, we were up against Morkborg and Ultraviolet Grassland. So it was like Charlie was like, well, it was a good run. I could say I'm any nominated. So
Yeah, he called it. He knew exactly who was going to win in that category. But
yeah,
gosh, yeah. Being at the Ennies, I've never been before to the Ennies, so like I have no basis of comparison, but it was pretty great to be there. And as a tabletop RPG person, like that's the award show for tabletop RPGs. Like it's all of your peers, like Craig Campbell and Pete Petruccia being nominated, and I know Jay Dragon nominated multiple times. Like Banana was nominated at least 3 times. Like other people we know were nominated for Dune, and so a lot of those people were there to be in the room and applaud each other and accept the awards, and kibitz beforehand and kibitz afterwards, and just it was special to me to see such strong showing from smaller publishers, because everybody's really in TTRPGs, everybody is small except for like 3 companies, right. But
there's varying levels
success of very small companies. Our pal Tristan Zimmerman, who worked on Tears in the Sea, like he won an Ennie too for Shanty Hunters. So
yep.
It felt like being among peers, and it was really incredible in that respect to attend the Ennies.
Yeah, it was, and
I didn't feel like being among peers. It was being among peers.
And I think as we move forward with Wet Ink, and as we grow and build relationships with some of these other companies, and it was a great opportunity to do some networking. I know Crystal Mazur, who was the lead writer for Blood on the Snow for us. She's actually in the YouTube chat right now. Says she loves going to the Ennies. She organized a freelancer meetup, and we got to meet some of the people who were nominated for Uncaged Goddesses, and it was just really cool to be able to celebrate with them in their success as well. And like Matt said, I know Jay Dragon just from being around at GenCon last year. We hung out a little bit at Origins and at PAX, and so just being able to celebrate with them for Wander Home and the success that it had, it's just so much fun to just join in. Yeah,
it was great. I also really enjoyed the freelancer meetup that Crystal hosted. We again, another person that worked on Never Going Home, Doc Wilson. Kevin Doc Wilson. He was at home in Canada, but we called him and we passed the phone around, and everybody got to talk to Kevin, and it was really great to talk to him, and which I haven't done in person since the freelancer meetup that Crystal hosted in 2019, because it's been some wild times in between then and now.
He's joined in some of these video calls, but other than that, like you're true. Right, it's face to face. It was great to see people, and I'm a hugger, so I always ask and say, hey, is it cool? And I love it when my friends who I haven't seen in 2 or 3 years are like, yes, and I just get a hug that like pops my back. I'm like, great.
Yeah, at the freelancer meetup, I talked to John Thompson, he's part of Rook and Rasp, and so we did the Heck and Good Doggo's actual play on Rook and Rasp's channel. So he's got a game coming out called Gutter Punk that I've known about for a while, but he was getting it play tested in the first exposure hall at GenCon, so he was talking about that, and I was talking to him about like I've published a couple games already, so like I know a little bit of information I can help you with. So it's great to talk to him, and because he's been in the industry, been around the industry, but he's not like published his own game before. So he's coming out of the gate, hopefully pretty strong.
Oh yeah.
And I'll hope for his future success. And also Jess Geyer of Wannabe Games. I talked to her a bunch, and at the freelancer meetup, and maybe something in the works, something possible, some collaboration between me and her for something Wedding Games wants to do in the future. So it's good. It was great. The Gen Con was great. Networking is great. Hanging out is great. Selling product to people who are excited about it is great. I do like going to cons. They are a lot of work, as I already talked about, but
And one of the things that I
loved
about it, you're right, being able to get there and to sell product again. But how many people just came back up and said, "Hey, what's new? What do you have?" And so some of the people who hadn't been there, we got to sell them the Never Going Home like campaign dossiers. Some of the people hadn't heard of Into the Weird and Wild or Zhang Shu yet, so we were able to tell them all about the new stuff that we had there. Also, anyone who was even interested in Into the Weird and Wild, we immediately pointed them to Into the Cessna Citadel and said, "Hey, this is on GameFound now, and there's going to be a third one
right now for another 3.5 minutes.
For another 3.5 minutes." And we were gonna have a third book in this series as well, and they were like, "Oh, this is fantastic!" And just being able to have those conversations with people, they could pick up the books and flip through them, and it was great. So other than that, I think the just being able to know that we have additional stuff in the pipe, stuff that's coming down, like Heckin' Good Doggos, which actually released on PDF on Drive-Thru RPG while we were at GenCon. It's been sent to print and all of that. A lot of our supporters wanted the family-friendly game, and it's a whole lot of fun. And being able to have that game actually run at GenCon and hearing the responses from people. I know that we also had some people who used Into the Weird and Wild for a number of games. Some had used it in OSR games, some had used it in like Symborum and Vasen, some had used it in even Never Going Home. But having people here, like not only who were players, but also people who are like, "Oh yeah, I run this in my, with my group at home." It was great to hear that. I love having that interaction where people are like, "We love your stuff, and this is how we use it." That's great.
I talked to Robert Turk, another of our gaming buddies, industry peers, today, and he backed Into the Cessna Citadel. Thank you, Robert. But he just released, like, I got my copy again. I didn't bring it down to show it off, but I got my copy this week of Goblonia, which he crowdfunded last fall. And I'm like, oh, Goblonia, and Into the Cessna. Goblonia takes place in the city of goblins, and there's all kinds of shenanigans that you can get up to. And it's a card-based resolution, like very simplified poker mechanics to like see who gets the upper hand or whatever in any kind of conflict. But it's like, he was like, I got Into the Cessna Citadel, so I can use it as a source book for Goblonia. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, those two books will be friends on the shelf. And like,
you have 1 minute left.
So,
no, I think it's a great idea. And let me tell you, the one thing that people absolutely loved is looking at the like the front page of Into the Weird and Wild, and I'm like, they're like, so many system neutral books don't go into this level of detail on like, what does system neutral mean, and how do you use it? And I think Charlie just knocked it out of the park with that.
Yeah, it's a very accessible book, and this whole series of books is meant to be that way.
Ooh, John Gregory says, that Charlie's one of my favorite writers and artists, and Alex is right there with him. And he mentions in our YouTube, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Oh, all right.
Ending now.
So our project was funded $38,227. All right. That's
191.13%.
That's excellent.
It is.
Thank you for all the support for that. This project is awesome, and of course could not be done without like the support and dedication of the backers and the fans. I know this is a different platform than what we've used in the past, which of course comes with its own hiccups and learnings. But we're gonna keep on keeping on.
Yeah, 823 people wanted to find it on GameFound and did.
That's right.
823 people did. If you wanted to find it and didn't, I'm sorry. They'll probably be like you can still get it. The book will still be available.
So I am gonna go back to John Gregory for a quick second.
Yeah.
I was in the middle of a thought there, but before I switched over, he said,
wait. I'm sorry. 946 people raised that money. There were 823 people back or following the project, but 946 backers. So thank you to all 946 of you.
So where was it? John said that if folks need a free bit of Charlie art, by the way, my gourmet street was drawn and laid out by him, and it's free. John, if you want, in our YouTube chat, you can drop a link to that. I'm sure people would love it. I know I would love it. I'd love to take a look at that and pick it up and not only spread the word of some other cool Charlie art, but also your project as well.
Sure.
We'll do that. Plagued X Productions asked, "Ooh, what is this third book?" So that's a good question. So it
don't think it has an official name yet.
It does not have an official name yet. We tossed around a whole bunch at GenCon, put some in some chats that we've had with Feral Indie. But the overall idea is that it's the haunted coastline, seashores, very much like your ghost ships, your pirate coves, lighthouses, things like that. It's gonna be a real treat when we get to see how Charlie and Alex really lean into that.
Oh yeah.
Zenith continues to fight the Kicksterzilla. That's what
the what moth?
The Zine moth.
Oh, the Zine moth.
I actually there's been some I guess some thoughts around that. With it obviously being moved, and with Kickstarter itself being what Kickstarter is, there's been a lot of discussion about that, and I know that there are multiple zine options out there now. Charlie and Alex are involved in one through Itch, or have been, or even organized. I don't remember what level of organization they had with that, but
I could be wrong, but I think they organized it, because I think Zine Month at Zemo, I believe it's .com. We'll check that just a second.
Keyboard Brawl asks, completely selfish question: will we see a draft PDF release of this book before shipping like we did with Into the Weird and Wild? Absolutely. Also, there's a couple of things I want to point out real quick about this.
It is zinemonth.com.
Zinemonth.com, Matt?
Yeah. So
to answer your question, Keyboard Brawl, the PDF is almost completely done. I said, I mentioned earlier in chat, Charlie was unable to join us because he's celebrating with some friends at a wedding. But the as I said, the PDF is almost completely done. There's 288 pages. This was originally supposed to be around between 220 and 248, ends up becoming 288. So this will be put up and sent out on Drive-Through RPG and be sent out to all of the backers once it's available. And we'll probably keep it up for about a week or two before we finalize anything and send it to print. So that gives us an opportunity to get some of that feedback from the backers who'd already seen this and have chewed on it for a little bit, and we can compile a list of any errata or any things that need to be added. Another thing, in addition to the extra 40 pages of material that we weren't necessarily anticipating when we started this, I know we didn't make the stretch goal for the second ribbon bookmark, but we got close.
We got pretty close.
We got pretty close. So we are going to put the second ribbon bookmark in there. So it'll have 2 ribbon bookmarks, just like the second edition of Into the Weird and Wild. And we're just going to eat that cost. So anyway, so there's two things, that you guys, I guess get extra. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's no. Obviously, Feral Indy, Charlie, and Alex have been working on this basically since last year, so they are almost done. This, at least for delivery of the digital assets, we do not anticipate a long lead time. So the digital copy will be coming to backers relatively soon, right. Weeks to a month, I would say, rather than 6 months to 9 months.
I would say it will be, if it's not out to backers digitally by the end of August, there's, I would be shocked.
It'll just be even better when it finally arrives. But that part of it will happen quickly. Printing is sort of taking it sort of stops being in our hands once we send it to the printer. We want it to be available at PAX. So that's the first weekend in December. That's when we want to have it ready by then. But physical copies are, like I said, we're not in control of the paper supply. We're not in control of shipping. Who knows what will happen once we've got it to that level, but that is our goal.
We do know that we got word from our printer this week that they should have roughly a 6 to 8 week lead time through the next, up until probably April-ish, for any project that we submit through them. So that does give us a pretty good window for when that will be received. And the shipping of that is going to be primarily handled by some people domestically. I think Charlie and Alex are going to dive in and try to do it themselves if they, still are have the capacity to do that. In which case, that's great. They want to have it out obviously before PAX, out to backers before PAX U, and then at PAX we'll have our booth. We're going to be we just found out yesterday that we will have a booth that's going to be with Game and a Curry, who we co-produced with co-produced Zhongsha Blood in the Banquet Hall with, excuse me, and Charlie and Alex are going to have a little bit of space in our booth like we had at Origins as well. So it's just going to be a good space for us. And we'll
Yeah.
have Into the Weird and Wild. We'll have Into the Sesson Citadel. We'll have Heckin' Good Doggos, and we'll have all of our Never Growing Home stuff. We'll have Zhang. We'll have all of our stuff. So, yeah, we're gonna keep on getting these projects printed and out to you all.
That's right. And we announced at GenCon, we announced, in 4 upcoming projects, which will take us into 2024. So we have Home. We have
Home is
I'm going to forget them all now. We got Home, we got Psychic Kids, we've got Garbage and Glory, and we've got 0 Day War. So those are our next 4 projects for sure. And that will get us into 2024 for sure.
So yeah, Home is it'll be a small box set RPG written by Yonsu Davis and Doug Lewandowski. Yonsu did some things with us for Zhang Shu, and Doug Lewandowski obviously has done stuff all over the place, but worked with Jonathan Gilmour with Kids on Bikes. It's a haunted house RPG that is uses similar mechanics to A Quiet Year, except you are dealing with trauma throughout the night as the spirits of the haunted house help you, or
they haunt you. They don't help you.
They don't help you. They haunt you, playing on some of the character traumas that you have, and you get to draw the map of the haunted house on a dry erase board, and it'll be a lot of fun. Garbage and Glory is going to be it's going to be one of our +1 RPGs where we all play raccoons telling our story in the dungeons of the neighborhoods. Every neighborhood is a dungeon, and it's got beautiful art by an artist we met at Origins, Sam Breek. Matt, do you want to talk a little bit about Garbage and Glory?
Yeah. I mean, Brandon just mentioned Sam Breek's art, and that really inspired the game. He had already done these character portraits that were, it was a raccoon that has like a sock over its head with little eye holes cut in it, and he's got like 2 little like razor blades as little knives, and there's a big beefy looking raccoon that's got this male skirt made out of credit cards, and then it's got this big axe, which is like this jagged broken CD with the little color spiral on it that a CD has, except it's got this jagged edge on it. So the idea was that these were trash adventurers, and so it's like that was the experience at Origins. It was like, this is a game. This is a game right here. We need to get this started. So we've been in discussion with Sam and also some of our typical writing team. I don't think we've got that all locked down yet, but we've got definitely some people that are on board to write. It's not a spoof of Dungeons and Dragons, but I think it will reference Dungeons and Dragons. This idea of going on adventures and collecting what treasure, but you're a raccoon, so the treasure that you collect is other people's trash, basically, and you're going to build a bunch of glory, earn a bunch of glory through your adventures. Like Brandon said, we'll use the +1 system, and we've got a few tweaks to it to kind of build out character classes in a way that we haven't done before with Never Going Home, or with either Never Going Home or Tenebria, or they don't really have character classes, but we're going to build them a little bit like that with some specialized skills, unique skills that only those sort of classes will be able to use. But the leveling up will work the same way, marking the dots and all that. Is to give it a little bit of that feel of a typical dungeon crawling adventure game, except it'll be high comedy because it's raccoons, and
because it's raccoons. Yeah.
So yeah, that's Garbage and Glory.
Yeah, I had shared share the
Yeah, I
screen
saw it pop up.
a little bit, but one of the things I also wanted to kind of show was Sam's art was just fantastic. So of course I wanted to show that cover. The other thing that I wanted to mention is when we were talking about home, we had made some of these posts throughout throughout the Gen Con. So we just did a little mock-up using some of the original prototype art. And we had our the logo that was designed by Matt Benici. He's done a lot of our graphic design. He's just fantastic designer and great guy as well. But yeah, just some really cool design for this game. And then we have 0 Day War. 0 Day War is going to be, even though we've made some RPGs like Zhongshe and all of the +1 games that we have that use cards, and then Home, which is told primarily through cards, we don't really have a card game. So
we've
it's
never
going to be our
done.
first foray into that
Mhm.
that kind of world.
Yeah, 0 Day War uses cards to represent data cards, data programs in a network, and you lay them out on a grid. That's your network. And then the gameplay is you play exploit programs to the outside of the grid, which will either capture the adjacent card or capture through the card that's adjacent to a non-adjacent card, or they'll capture 2 cards or something like that. They work different ways, and they have a timer on them. So the more powerful cards have a timer of like 4 ticks. The weaker cards have they basically take place immediately. But everybody's laying out their cards, and then you count down or count up rather the time. So the cards that act faster can take cards off the board that then more powerful cards, which would capture more cards or through cards or capture in a different way, may not go into effect because the cards that they would affect have already been captured by weaker cards that acted faster. So it's kind of a risk reward system in that respect. And of course, you're collecting the data as a network hacker. You're collecting the data to build you're effectively building card sets of matching symbols to score points, because it's a card game, and the way you win every game is to score the most points. Every board and card game, almost all of them, is you win by scoring the most points. So it has that as the ultimate goal, but the methods with which you get there are a little bit different than anything we'd seen before. So we really liked it, and I think it's an appropriate, since we worked with Matt so much on layout on Zhongshe and Hecken Godagos and for Home. He's also a game designer, and he's like, hey, do you want to publish my game? We're like, yeah, sure, why not? And we'll see how it goes. We may become bigger than just RPGs.
That's
if it goes well.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
In 2023 and 2024, we're really going to try to branch out, get kind of outside of our comfort zone. And that's the only way that you can grow.
Sure.
Then the other one, Matt, I'm going to let you kind of kick this one off with Psychic Kids.
Well, this started with, I believe it was 2018. One of the finalists for the 200-word RPG challenge, which is exactly what it says: write an RPG in only 200 words. One of the finalists was by a fellow named Michael Brennan, and he wrote a game called Psychic Children on the Run from Danger, which used a card. It's the setup is in the name of the game, but anytime any of the psychic children want to use their power, you have to guess the next card in a deck of cards. And your proportional success is how effective your psychic power is. So if you don't have any matches at all, your power has no effect. If you get the color right, you get a little bit of an effect. If you get the suit right, you have a stronger effect. If you match exactly, you have the most powerful effect with your psychic power. And that was basically all the game it was, because it's only 200 words. So We loved it. We played it. We talked to Michael, and we asked him to write a whole game, incorporating, again, the +1 skill system, because he's already got the cards. +1 is always the dice and the cards. So he'd already had the card system developed. Just add the cards, and he was able to give more information about the setting, more information about the motivation of the children, and that manuscript has been sitting around waiting for an artist to pair with it, and we finally found one. Sarah M.W. Miller. You can go to Sarah Miller Creations to see her art, which is pretty incredible. And so she'll be illustrating our psychic children, doing sort of like character portraits of their power, the children, their powers. I think it's going to be really awesome. And I don't want to say anything about timetable because that's all still up in the air, but we are definitely looking to finish this project, which has been in the works. Like I said, we first contacted Michael in 2018, and it's been fallow for way too long. And we want to bring this one out, get it out there, because it's such a cool concept.
Yeah. And I think to your point, about how long this is actually sat out there and how we want to bring it we wanted to finish it and get it out there sooner rather than later. Our goal was to have between 6 and 8 new products out by GenCon of next year, which is pretty ambitious. But when we look at Heckin' Good Doggos and Into the Sesson Citadel, those are already, like I said, they're going to print. And then we have Psychic Kids, which is the art just needs to be done and get it laid out. Home is pretty much done and developed. We have the artists on board, and we're moving forward with some of the design meetings. So we're that's 4, and then we have some other ones that we have already in the works and in various stages of development. We're just chomping at the bit. Now that we're no longer in the absolute I guess dregs of the isolation that we had. Creative juices are flowing. That's one thing that GenCon showed me, is that creative juices are flowing all around. People are,
of course,
are just pouring themselves into projects.
There was absolutely some doldrums in though 2020 was a good year for funding projects, it was not a good year for developing new projects. So a lot of 2021, frankly, was just bringing the projects that we had funded in 2020 that were done already home, not starting a lot of new things. So we're excited to start some new things here in 2022 and bring home some stuff that has been in the works for a little while, but has, like I said, lain fallow for too long.
We also have some at GenCon, we were able to meet with some additional designers, and we were able to talk about some of the other products and projects that we have people lined up for. They want to dive into some of these projects, and from a production house standpoint, from a publisher standpoint, it's great to see, because we have worked with a lot of these people before, or we know their work ethic, and so we have people who say, I want to do X, and I'm like, great, do it. And if you can do it, and we have come to an agreement and all that, then we can help bring that to life. But again, it's the ideas are easy, right? Execution is hard. So let's see what we can do.
Execution is always harder.
Let's see if we can collaborate and bring more stuff to life.
Sure. And I don't know, I think I'm pretty excited for what has happened in 2020 so far, and what is yet to happen in 2020, and looking into 2023, 2024. Like, we've been at this a few years now, and it's really, I'm really starting to feel the traction. So
yeah. Jeremy in chat says, dang, Sarah's art is super rad. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is super rad. Thanks for going and checking it out. It is super rad.
Yeah, we actually were walking around at Origins, I think, specifically looking for an artist. One of our friends was actually going to do the art for it at one point, and she just got swamped. And so we said, look, as Matt said, this project has lingered for way too long. We need to find someone, in a particular style that we really like. And we found a few artists, and we turned the corner, and I remember turning the corner on the back aisle of Artist Alley, which some of these art prints were up, and I was like, oh my gosh. And Matt was like, oh, this is exactly the style we were looking for. I wonder if she's available. And I think she was also at a wedding or something that weekend, and her partner was at the show.
I think she was
like,
at a
I don't know if
different
she's
con.
available, but yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it definitely was. That Origins trip was a great, a very fruitful visit to Artist Corner, because we met Sam and we connected with Sarah Miller, and so it's good.
Yeah,
It's good that we took the time to go visit.
We also tend to do that at every convention, and I highly recommend it, even if you are not interested in buying art yourselves. I mean, normally you can go to Artist Alley, and artists will have pins and prints and even small postcards, and they'll have originals, whatever. But even if
some artists have business cards that are suitable for framing,
yeah, absolutely. Actually, Matt, one of the artists came to the wet ink booth while Matt and I were both there, and gave us her business card. And it's seriously, like, he's not joking.
It's like a 5x7 postcard that has amazing art on it, and it's got contact information on the back. And it's like, I could put this on my wall.
Right. But I highly recommend always going to Artist Alley, not only to support the artists that help bring the vision and the words that developers and designers have to life. Just go and support them, and say thank you, but also to see some of the amazing art that's out there. Any convention you go to, go check it out. We try to do that and find new artists and find people we want to work with. As a matter of fact, once we wrap up this session, I'm going to stick on the call with Matt, and we're going to talk about some of the artists that we had met at GenCon. So
that's right.
Gosh. But yeah,
it's like a little cycle here. You meet artists, you work with artists, you produce games, you meet new artists, you make new games. It's I
mean, I know we talked about Never Going Home and Into the Weird and Wild, Into the Sesson Citadel. I mean, I met Charlie at GenCon years ago, and then we've followed him and his art and through various projects. When he did his World War Cult art project and the Inktober project, the various zines that he had done. That's how we met Alex and the zines that she's worked on and the stuff like that. And it's just one of those things that, like, man, finally being able to team up with such a powerhouse creative team is great. Even to the point where at GenCon, we had a stack of Alex's zines left over from Origins, and we took those to GenCon, and we're talking about just the Sphinx project that Alex worked on, which was just mind-blowing. And she did this one which is all about mounts that has like a dire goose in it, which is like my favorite. I bought the original of the dire goose because it's just, her art is fantastic. And yeah, it's just great being able to work with these artists as you go forward, and always finding new talent and being able to work with new talent is cool. Find the artist, find the writer, and make something awesome.
Yeah. That's our current business model. Like TM. Don't steal it.
Oh man.
Or do steal it. You can steal it. Anyone watching this, you can steal it, because there's plenty of artists and plenty of writers out there.
I often told people at the artists and writers that would come up and talk to me at Origins and at GenCon, I was like, look, if you work with us, we want to be able to develop a project or make a product that you can come to our booth at a convention and say, hey, can I have a couple of these to go hand out at, to some of the people that are here in this room, some of these other companies, as kind of like a mini portfolio. Like, hey, it shows that you can be a sole artist on a product, end to end, cover to cover. Shows that you, can do and deliver that level of work. But also I was like, my goal is to, get you out there so much that you're too busy to talk with us. Like, that would be great. Like, I would love that for you. And, then we can help uplift other creators. And I think that level of honesty really surprises some artists. And but that's really what we want. We want to uplift some of these artists and kind of give voice to their images.
Yeah, sorry, I'm distracted. I'm just looking at this microphone.
No, it's so awesome.
Weird and Wild again.
Well, it's 10:30. That's awesome. We thank you for everyone for kind of joining us during this time of just,
or if you're rewatching on our YouTube later, that's cool too.
We're just getting to the end of this, and man, with this Into the Cessna Citadel, we managed to get funded, and it's going to be coming sooner than you think. So
I want to be surprised at how quickly the next steps go.
That's right.
Even I want to be surprised by it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We'll talk to you next time. All right.